As Halloween Ends puts Laurie Strode up against Michael Myers for the last time, it is amazing that she has survived so long in such a deadly franchise. The horror genre is filled with characters who manage to beat the odds in deadly situations and survive longer than audiences had thought possible. These characters might have seemed expendable only to outlast most other characters, or they might have been put through more than any human could realistically survive, yet they kept on coming. But even though fans thought they should have died earlier, these horror movie characters defied the expectations. 10 out of 10 Alex, Final Destination, 2000. The Final Destination movies are actually all about characters who were meant to die but somehow escaped their fates. And Alex is the one who seems to be dodging near-death experiences the most. After narrowing dying in a plane crash which he has a vision of, Alex is targeted by death, who continues to attempt to finish him and the other survivors off. From falling objects to house fires to runaway trains, Alex is constantly thrust into danger and just barely gets by. 9/10 Laurie Strode, Halloween, 2018. While Michael Myers has the most memorable moments in the Halloween movies, Laurie Strode is another key part of the franchise. The new trilogy sees her no longer the victim of this masked killer, but a badass ready to take him on. But many fans look at what Laurie went through in 2018's Halloween and wonder how she was alive to continue in the sequels. Being 40 years older than the original, she is beaten up, stabbed, and thrown out a window, yet still stands in the end. Perhaps it's not surprising that she spends all of Halloween Kills in a hospital bed. 8/10 Jake, Jaws, The Revenge, 1987. Though Jaws is considered one of the greatest movies of all time, some consider Jaws, The Revenge to be one of the rare so bad it's good movies. The movie even fails to deliver a proper death scene with the character of Jake. As one of the heroes who agrees to hunt down the shark, it's not surprising when Jake ends up in the shark's mouth. But despite having his bloody body dragged underwater by the deadly sea monster, Jake somehow comes back up to the surface once the shark is dead, having inexplicably not been eaten. 7/10 Preacher, Deep Blue Sea, 1999. As it turns out, Jaws, The Revenge is not the only shark movie with some unexpected survivors. Deep Blue Sea is a wonderfully campy movie about super smart sharks attacking an isolated research facility. One of the unlucky inhabitants of the floating lab is the cook named Preacher. After escaping several run-ins with the shark, Preacher makes it to the climax along with the movie's male and female main characters. Since three's a crowd, Preacher is snatched by the shark and carried off as its next meal. But Preacher proves to be the best survivor in the movie, stabbing it in the eye and escaping. 6/10 Jen, Revenge, 2017. With a name like Revenge, the audience can bet that the main character is going to be put through a lot in order to spur their vengeful mission. That is certainly the case with Jen, the protagonist of the brutal movie. While vacationing with her boyfriend and his friends, Jen is assaulted and then thrown off a cliff to cover the villain's tracks. Being impaled on a tree is where most characters' journeys would end, but this is only the beginning for Jen, who somehow manages to survive and hunt down her attackers. 5/10 Pat, Green Room, 2015. Green Room is an unsettlingly realistic horror movie with how unceremoniously the characters are killed off and how brutal the violence is. This is made clear with an early gruesome scene in which Pat's arm is hacked up by a gang of neo-Nazis. Pat seems like the main character up until that point, so it was shocking to see him get so brutalized so early on. He spends the rest of the movie weak from the attack and out of his element, so it is a pleasant surprise when he is one of the few characters who walks away in the end. 4/10 Hoffman, Saw IV, 2007. Hoffman is probably a character fans would have liked to see die earlier in the Saw franchise, but it is also quite surprising when he continually got away. Though introduced as one of the detectives investigating the Jigsaw murders, Hoffman is eventually revealed to be Jigsaw's apprentice. Despite being a much less interesting villain as well as going against John Kramer's original vision, Hoffman just keeps on evading detection and killing anyone in his way. When he manages to go on a murder rampage inside a police station and still get away, he seemed to become a supervillain. 3/10 Ash, Evil Dead 2, 1987. Ash is one of the coolest horror movie protagonists of all time, and part of what makes him so endearing is how much he goes through. Evil Dead 2 takes the franchise in a more slapstick direction, and Ash takes the brunt of that. He is possessed more than once in the movie, including having his hand taken over by the evil spirits and then trying to kill him. But seeing him cut off his own hand and then replace it with a chainsaw solidified that Ash wasn't going to let anything kill him. 2/10 Dewey, Scream, 1996. There have been several iconic death scenes in the Scream franchise, and the latest installment delivered one of the best as Dewey finally is killed by the new Ghostface. However, after 5 movies, fans were beginning to suspect Dewey was actually invincible. He became a fan favorite in the first movie as the bumbling yet likable cop, and that was nearly the end of his as he gets a knife in the back. But while he survives, Dewey is continuously stabbed and suspected to be dead, only to reappear before the final credits. 1/10 HUD, Cloverfield, 2008. The found footage format was used for a monster movie in Cloverfield. HUD is the man behind the camera, going from filming his friend's going away party to documenting a giant monster's rampage through New York City. And it seems as though having that camera gives HUD plot armor for most of the movie. He is a somewhat annoying character, making his goofy commentary throughout the adventure. But he is also panicky and totally ill-equipped for this situation. While he does get eaten by the monster in the movie's final moments, it's surprising he made it that far.